They're just going to add Roy Moore to the allegations against Trump and say that both of them need to resign. Both of them are reprobates, perverts, what have you, however they choose to go about this. But if Moore wins, and even wins big, as you say, it's not going to be a wake-up moment for them. They are prepared for it. Some of them even hoping for it, because it is what will fuel what they've already revealed as their strategy. Now, Nathan, thanks. I appreciate the call. Let me get back to our first caller, because I want to try to wade through this, because it's complicated. And what complicates this is human nature. Human nature involving men and women, and for the moment, I'm talking about heterosexual men and women. Don't be offended if you're not. It happens to be the majority, and it happens to be, we're not hearing a whole lot of cases of homosexual harassment, except in terms of pedophilia. But, so we'll leave that aside. Not that that's not important either, but human nature, men and women, no matter what politicians or moralists do, they're never going to be able to change the basic structure of human nature that results in men and women getting together. Now, how they get together, that's where all of this gets complicated. Do they get together by force? Bad. Do they get together by chance? Good. Do they get together with love? Even better. Do they get together temporarily, one night out, and that's it? But getting together is what drives everything forward. And the attempt to politicize this and to establish political acceptance, political okay, politically not okay, mannerisms, techniques, strategies, because there is all of that in the pursuit of mating. Call it love, call it, and both sides engage in it. Both sides are aggressive in this. Both sides have strategies. Some are aware of the strategies. Others are not aware of it because it's just human nature. Some are good at it. Some are bad at it. Some have so many self-conscious problems, lack of self-esteem, that they don't even try to pursue members of the opposite sex. Others are obsessed with self-love and think everybody wants it. I mean, folks, it's a mixture of things that can't be regulated. It's a mixture of things that can't even be identified because we're all different and we all have different techniques, ways, desires, ambitions. It's like everything else about life that the left attempts to regulate. They claim that there are only one or two or three acceptable ways of living, of spending, of earning, whatever it is. They name them, and then they try to politicize or criminalize anything other than what they approve. The most obvious effort at politicization of this is feminism. As an offshoot of feminism, we have the political examples of sexual harassment versus what I think are real examples of it. Sexual harassment is a real thing at work or in other places where refusal to comply can result in danger, professional harm, or physical harm. Those are real-life circumstances. They are very real, and the people that engage in that are indeed reprobates. But that's not the kind of sexual harassment we're really talking about, unless we're talking Harvey Weinstein, unless we're talking Bill Clinton, unless we're talking about something the well-known. But sexual harassment that we're talking about today is the kind that has been politicized and ginned up by the Democrats and finely defined and tuned and specified so as to be able to obviously target a few people. At the top of that list is Donald Trump. For example, yesterday on NBC, 4 women appeared with Megyn Kelly to claim that Trump had harassed them, and they demanded a congressional investigation. And one of them said that she was petrified when he asked for her phone number. And Megyn Kelly said, "How did you feel when he asked for your phone number?" As though it was the worst thing that could be asked. It was the most invasive question that Trump could have asked. He wanted my number. What did you feel like? Were you frightened? Were you scared? And she said, "Yeah, and I gave it to him. I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't." We're going to investigate somebody over this, over asking for a phone number. If she had not given the phone number, she wants us to believe that she would have been harassed and pestered and maybe harmed by Trump. This takes it to the theater of the absurd. When the Democrat Party politicizes anything for the express purpose of advancing their agenda, they corrupt it. And they are corrupting and confusing the time-honored ritual of men and women getting together. They are forcing a self-consciousness and a guilt on people that is resulting in a fear of following one's heart, one's desires, one's instincts, because ruination could be the result of failure. And I think when the caller said, where these women should be standing up for themselves, you don't do that to me, and slapped the guy. Well, we have been told over the last 30 years that this is exactly what women do. Hear me roar, I'm strong, I am woman, you can't do it. Now when the Democrats get hold of emancipated women, what becomes of them? Why, they become powerless, helpless, little waifs, snowflakes, incapable of resisting the most awful advances. We need congressional investigations and lawsuits and so forth. This is just a continuation of what the left has been doing ever since I've been old enough to notice. They're conducting a war on the basic elements of human nature and trying to bend and shape human nature to their political benefit. And they're corrupting everything, confusing people, and in the process, they are destroying lives and fortunes and families, all for the sake of advancing their political agenda. And that, folks, needs to stop. You remember back when the Weinstein story broke in the New York Times, we're all saying, why? Why now? It's just because Hillary lost, but what brought this about? He's lost his power in D.C., and he's been hated for so long, and now people finally have a chance. And Ronan Farrow was... Maybe we were all wrong. Maybe the reason it was time for Weinstein to finally be outed was because it triggered all of this. Let's go to the audio soundbites. Capitol Hill this afternoon, 69 members of Congress, Lois Frankel, our former almost mayor here, held a press conference.
The Me Too movement has arrived. Sexual abuse will not be tolerated, whether it's by a Hollywood producer, the chef of a restaurant, a member of Congress, or the President of the United States. No man or woman is above the law.
Okay, and here's more from Ms. Frankel, who once asked me to pose for a photo in a restaurant here and then snuck outside and went around the corner to the Sprinkles ice cream store. Q&A, would this be an impeachable offense?
I think we have to see what we learn. I think certainly crimes, violations of the law can lead to that.
And history has shown us that we impeached a president for inappropriate sexual behavior in the past. So I would say history answers that question.
That's not just Brenda Lawrence, Democrat Michigan. Clinton was not impeached for sex. He was impeached for lying to a grand jury. See, these people don't even know that. These are members of Congress. They don't even know what Slick Willie was literally impeached over. He was impeached because of Peyronie's disease with Paula Jones. Wasn't what it was. History has shown us that we impeached the president for inappropriate sexual behavior. No, we didn't. Maybe we should have gone that way, but we didn't. Doomcough. Anyway, there's one more of these, but as is usual case, I'm out of time right now. No, I remember speculating when the Weinstein story dropped that it might be ultimately aimed at Trump, but I back then did not envision the full strategery that we now see being implemented. Just makes you wonder what happened to the Russian collusion, the Russian hack story. Almost kind of makes you long for it. Greetings, welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network, and the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Man, there's things dropping all over the place here today that so far I haven't been able to get to. I just got the most fascinating email. I just only had time to read the subject line. So I can't get into it here for the 15 minutes till the break, but it comes from Glenn Reynolds, who's the law professor at U Tennessee. He's a columnist, USA Today, Glenn Harlan Reynolds, and he has Instapundit, his blog. And the subject line, so it looks like Lisa Page, that's the woman that Peter Strzok had the illicit extramarital affair with. It looks like Lisa Page may have been involved in approving Strzok's FISA warrant requests. Well, all of these people are involved with one another. It's like a revolving door in all of these places. And we're finding that these people were not just sleeping together, that they were working together with Fusion GPS and with the guy who wrote the fake, phony Trump dossier, which may have been used to get a FISA warrant in October. Obama tried twice to get FISA warrants to investigate Trump. The first one was in April, and it was denied by the judge, but they went back in October, and it is thought that the request was granted. You know, FISA warrants are secret. And so the looks like this woman, Lisa Page, may have been involved in approving FISA requests made by Peter Strzok, the guy she was sleeping with. So I will have the details of what that means in due course. Yes. Thirdly, said you mentioned in the first hour Donovan McNabb was. I got it right here, but I'm not through with the other stuff. Let me finish this up here because it's still exploding. Kirsten Gillibrand is about to have a conniption fit out there over Trump's tweet about her today, and she's roped in. CNN's now doing a whole panel discussion on how Trump was behaving very badly toward her in a sexist tweet and so forth. These people, does CNN have any idea that they become a joke? This is what amazes me. CNN has humiliated itself at least 7 times this year. They've had to fire 3 people over a fake story about Anthony Scaramucci. This thing that happened on Friday would have been enough to get most people involved in it fired and drummed out of the business. It was such a violation of every canon of journalism. And then there have been a number of other stories that they have just been dead wrong on, or where they have altered 911 tapes like NBC did during the episode with Trayvon Martin. I mean, these things are just repeating, and now they're just outraged. Yesterday they did a story on Trump maybe being in the throes of dementia because he drinks 12 Diet Cokes a day. They're bringing in psychologists, psychoanalysts, gastroenterologists, and then their own staff doctor, Sanjay Gupta. And they're bringing and ignoring the terrorism story at the same time. And during the break here, I'm watching Gloria Borger and some other woman and Brooke Baldwin, and they've got these stern, serious looks on their face as they're discussing the Trump tweet of Kirsten Gillibrand. And I'm literally asking myself, do these people know what a joke they have become? Do they have any? One of the keys to media success is being able to empathize, being able to envision and understand, comprehend how your audience sees you. The greatest example of this I can give you? These sports team mascots. Some of them are really good and some of them are not memorable at all. One of the best sports mascots in the history of mascots was the San Diego Chicken. Ted Giannoulis was the guy that was inside the suit. Right along with him was the Philly Fanatic. But of all the mascots that there are, how many of them can you literally name that have made an impact on you, either comedically or any other way? Those two come to my mind. Maybe you can name others, but you can't name anywhere near all of them, nor very many of them. And I maintain it's because what I always thought about Giannoulis, we had him in once when I was with the Kansas City Royals, and it was earth-shattering because the Royals had never done anything like that. I mean, they were staid, buttoned down. You promote baseball with baseball, not chickens. And we overcame that. We got the San Diego Chicken in there one day, and it was a great hit. Everybody loved him. He was already widely known. He was showing up at baseball and football. The San Diego Chicken was there at the Holy Roller Raiders-Chargers game with Dave Casper. That's how far back. But I always try to analyze, why are people who do what they do successful and why are other people who do what they do not? And in the case of Ted Giannoulis, when I told him this, I said, I think you have an innate sense of how you are seen in that suit. You, in other words, bring a consciousness and a live factor to that character, that chicken suit that you're wearing. And you're not just putting on a suit and running around waving your arms and chatting with referees. You have a innate sense. And I don't think these people at CNN do. I think they're sitting there on their panel and they're wringing their hands and they're deathly serious about Trump's tweet of Kirsten Gillibrand, and they're going on and on. It's the most outrageous thing that's ever happened in politics, and Trump just keeps lowering the bar. And you just sit there and laugh at it because you know that it's just the latest in a long line of, oh, my God, we're so offended we can't believe it stories that they're not selling. They may be selling them to, 20, 30% their core audience, other demented leftists. But in terms of growing their audience, building their audience, establishing credibility and believability as journalists outside their core base, they don't have a prayer. They're not even close. They're still lagging along in third place. And I think one of the factors is they have no idea how they're seen. And when you imagine yourself to be deathly serious about what you do, when you can't tell that people are laughing at you, you have a problem. Now, if you're trying to make people laugh at you and they're laughing, you're succeeding. But if you're sitting there thinking you're the incarnation of Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Murrow, and you are there to bring down the powerful, and you've got the goods, and you're deadly serious about it, and you can't tell people don't believe you anymore, you can't tell people are laughing at you, you can't detect that people are making jokes about you, you've got a problem. And I think that's where CNN is. Just by looking at the stern, serious faces, just as stern and just as serious and just as excited as they were last Friday when they had another bogus story that was fully fraudulent, made up, and filled with lies. And there they were, deadly serious. It was the end of Trump. It might have been the end of the world if CNN had not discovered it. And that's another thing. People who think they are so damned important that nobody can get along without them, that they're so special. And that's how these people in journalism see themselves. It doesn't help that they've got constitutional acknowledgement in the First Amendment, but they've lost themselves. They have lost all. I don't think it's not just CNN. At the press briefing, when Sarah Huckabee Sanders is openly mocking them and telling them what's for, they haven't the slightest idea how they look to people watching this. In fact, there's another soundbite I've got. Well, I don't know if it printed or not, but apparently Jim Acosta is accusing Sarah Huckabee Sanders of threatening him. Threatening him! It's number 24? Okay, well, hang on with that. Because we got to get back to Kirsten Gillibrand. If I don't finish this, if I keep going off on sidetracks, which are actually not sidetracks, they're actually self-contained stories of their own weight. Jackie Speier, Democrat, California, press conference today along with Lois Franco to demand a congressional investigation into Trump. During the Q&A, Jackie Speier talked about the reasons behind the call for an investigation.
As you're all aware, House Rule 10 gives the Congress of the United States, and particularly the House of Representatives, the authority to investigate anything at any time. And it is under that House rule that we are calling on the Government Oversight Committee to do the investigation. But what took place this morning when the president tweeted about our colleague, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, is grotesque. It took my breath away, and it represents the conduct of a person who is ill-equipped to be the president of the United States.
Oh, come on. This is where nobody believes you, except your other insane leftists. Come on, is Kirsten Gillibrand really made up of the flimsiest balsa wood that she can't even handle a strong gust of wind? This is what our first caller was talking about. Why do you want us to believe that Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is so helpless and so frightened and so fragile and can't handle the president saying something about her? For crying out loud. Here's Trump's tweet. Now, Gillibrand had tweeted something about Trump. I mean, he didn't start it. You know, she starts something, so he responds. Lightweight Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, total flunky for Chuck Schumer, and someone who had come to my office begging for campaign money not so long ago and would do anything for them, is now in the ring fighting against Trump. Very disloyal to Bill and crooked Hillary. Now, what Jackie Speier and the rest of these babes are upset about is Trump saying that Kirsten Gillibrand would do anything for campaign contributions. They are saying that Trump is intimating that Kirsten Gillibrand would offer herself sexually to Trump for money. And they are outraged, and they are offended, and they are unbelieving how this could possibly stand. Now, let me ask you a question. And by the way, Gillibrand responded, you can't silence me or the millions of women who've gotten off the sideline to speak out about the unfitness and shame you've brought to the Oval Office. Now, if Trump had tweeted, Chuck Schumer came to my office and he would do anything for campaign contributions, what would people think Trump meant? Would anybody have thought he meant a Lewinsky? Well, that's what they thought when he was talking about Kirsten Gillibrand. They think Trump was intimating that she would have offered Trump a Lewinsky if he would have donated to her cause. It's in their minds, exactly, not in Trump's. It's in their minds. They're the ones that have the putrid, perverted thoughts in their minds. It's not in Trump's. They don't know what Trump's thinking. Could do anything, could be anything. But they zero in on that it is a Lewinsky. What would they have thought if Chuck Schumer, if Trump said Chuck Schumer would do anything but campaign contribution, would they have thought something sexual about that? What would men do to get money that's not sexual? Pass laws favoring the contributor, remove a regulation, grease a wheel, get an invite to the White House, could be anything. And that could have been what Trump meant. She would have done anything for this. But look at what these women zero in on. These women zero in on the fact that Trump was suggesting Gillibrand would drop to her knees and do a Lewinsky. Didn't Mitt Romney say that Trump would drop to his knee for what? Mitt would drop. Oh, that Mitt would drop to his knees for a campaign donation. Trump said that Mitt would do that, would drop to his knees. So, well, but they weren't outraged about that. So now here is Kirsten Gillibrand with Christiane Amanpour sitting in for whoever on CNN International. He says this is an unprecedented time in American politics. The world is gripped by this saga. Here it now takes aim squarely at Trump, and this whole Me Too movement gains momentum. Should the White House be worried, Senator?
President Trump should resign. These allegations are credible. They are numerous. I've heard these women's testimony, and many of them are heartbreaking. And President Trump should resign his position. Whether he will ever hold himself accountable is something you really can't hold your breath for. And so Congress should have hearings. They should do their investigation. They should have appropriate investigations of his behavior and hold him accountable. This is a very powerful moment in America's history. And not only should women be heard, but they should be believed.
Stop the tape. It's fake. All of this is ginned up. It is a political opposition research strategy. All of this is fake. You have been building up to this. Everything these people do is fake. It's all structured. It is all manufactured. And the voters saw it during the election and the Access Hollywood video release. And they're seeing it in the same kind of orchestrated campaign that appears to be genuine and of the moment with Roy Moore, but it's all planned, scripted, written out, timelined, as this is. Now, all of a sudden, when Franken's gone and some others, now Congress needs to investigate Trump. And who's out there digging up information for this? None other than the greatest reputation in all of Washington, Robert Mueller. The whole thing is ginned up, folks. Standby soundbite number 25. So, Kirsten Gillibrand. For the last 20 years, madam, you supported, you endorsed, you hobnobbed, you took money from, and God knows what else, from the likes of Bill Clinton and Harvey Weinstein. You're right in there with them. You're defending Clinton, didn't do anything wrong, nothing to keep you at your distance from him. He was a hero of yours, just like he was the rest of the Democratic Party. Harvey Weinstein, ditto. You never once tried to distance yourself from Weinstein before the story broke. You are right in there with him, Senator Gillibrand. Now, all of a sudden, you find religion. Now, all of a sudden, you are righteously offended, terribly indignant, and stupefied at how the president could so disrespect you. Well, Trump is right. You are a hypocrite. And more. You are the one not genuine. You're the one, perhaps, who should be ashamed. You are the lightweight here, Ms. Gillibrand. Senator Gillibrand. This selective outrage, so obviously part of an opposition research campaign. And there you are, dependable as ever, willing to be the biggest hypocrite on earth now that others, including you, have decided to throw Bill Clinton overboard. Which you probably don't even really mean because you didn't do it when it mattered. You did it just to clear the decks for going after Trump. Here is Kirsten Gillibrand, now a victim, a helpless snowflake victim of Donald Trump's tweets. Words in the ether. Here's what she said.
It was a sexist smear attempting to silence my voice, and I will not be silenced on this issue. Neither will the women who stood up to the president yesterday, and neither will the millions of women who have been marching since the Women's March to stand up against policies they do not agree with.
He's a victim, ladies and gentlemen. He's a victim of Trump's tweets. so mean. It's so unfair. But she's not going to be silenced, and neither are the other women. They're wearing those vagina hats ever since the inauguration. Not a bit. A man, a legend, a way of life. Yeah, I got the Glenn Reynolds email coming up. I got the Jim Acosta soundbite. I got phone calls to get back to. And, of course, the offended snowflake, Kirsten Gillibrand. And the only thing the drive-bys are talking about now is these women demanding their formal investigation into Trump and that he be sent packing. Even on Fox News, that has become the story. It is so obvious to us who pay attention to this that none of it is genuine. It's all manufactured. The Democrats start a strategic opposition research campaign, and it gets presented as news, as legitimate news, when it's nothing more than the implementation of a strategy that was written and put together some months ago, beginning with the outing of Harvey Weinstein. It's amazing. There is no news. What we have is the televising of the latest Democrat hit job on Donald Trump. Okay. So the email from Glenn Reynolds, Insta-pundit, law professor, University of Tennessee. Subject matter, Rush. It looks like Lisa Page, with whom Peter Strzok had an extramarital affair, may have been involved in approving his FISA requests. Now, Strzok is on Mueller's team, and all of these people are ardent anti-Trumpers. They have all been working with Fusion GPS. Many of them have, and its author, Christopher Steele, on this fake and phony Trump dossier. And, you know, the question now, to cut to the chase of all this, is this Trump dossier what the Obama administration used to get a FISA warrant to surveil the Trump campaign in October? And if that's true, that is bombshell, because the thing is nothing more than a Democrat Party opposition research project. Hillary Clinton worked with the Russians and paid for this dossier to be created and written. And it has been presented to everybody as though it's legitimate intelligence, the result of legitimate intelligence gathering. And it isn't. This is the dossier with the golden showers story in it. So we have learned that Peter Strzok was having an extramarital affair with somebody else named Lisa Page. And it looks like Lisa Page may have been involved in approving Strzok's FISA requests. So Glenn's email to me says that he asked the special counsel press office to confirm or deny, and they said no comment. And then there is a link here at PJ Media /Instapundit. So our astute website people will find the link. It's pjmedia.com /Instapundit-283-195 / You guys will find it. So I just had an interesting email exchange with the special counsel press office. This is what Glenn said to him. I'm hearing from a source that Lisa Page was involved in approving Peter Strzok's warrant requests to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court and possibly elsewhere. Can you confirm or deny if this was the case? And please tell me what her job title and function are in your office. Thanks. Special counsel's reply via spokesman Joshua Stweeve. Lisa Page, who was an attorney on detail to the special counsel's office, returned to the FBI's office of the general counsel in mid-July. Glenn Reynolds, thank you, but that doesn't answer my question. What role did Lisa Page have in the handling of warrant applications, and in particular those involving Peter Strzok, with whom she was having an illicit extramarital affair? And the spokesman from the special counsel's office said, I'll decline to comment further. Lisa Page, remember, is the FBI lawyer with whom Strzok was having an extramarital affair and exchanging anti-Trump texts to the tune of 10,000 of them. I haven't had a chance to get to it today, but Victor Davis Hanson has a piece at National Review Online, and nothing that you haven't heard mentioned before, but it's a fabulous structure, a composition of these details in the way he has written his column here. I'm going to instruct Coco to link to it so that you'll find an easy way to it. It would take me too long to read it. I haven't the time to do so. But it is really, really well done in terms of, okay, they're telling us then, but then we learned, and then yeah, okay, but then we learned. I mean, it just blows holes through every claim that is coming out of the special counsel's office and the media. Now, what else did I prompt? Oh, yes. Snerdley wants to hear about Donovan McNabb, and I mentioned Jim Acosta. Now, there were fireworks in the press room yesterday at the White House because Sarah Huckabee Sanders went to these people, primarily at CNN, and said, look, you guys, it's one thing to get a story wrong. It's another thing to not correct it when you get it wrong. It's another thing to not care that it's wrong. It's another thing when you're purposely misinforming the American people. And, of course, they blew up and said she is challenging our legitimacy. She's challenging us as journalists and so forth. And she, talk about courageous. You talk about somebody not a wallflower, somebody's not an innocent, harmless, fragile little snowflake. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She doesn't take 1 ounce of grief from these media bullies. In fact, they think she's the bully. Anyway, this afternoon on Wolf Blitzed, senior White House correspondent Jim Acosta slowly losing his mind in this job now about what happened to him this morning at the White House prior to his asking a question of Donald Trump during an event there.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders pulled me aside. This was prior to me asking that question of the president, and she warned me that if I asked the president a question at this pool spray, as we call them, that she could not promise that I would be allowed into a pool spray again. Wolf, this was a direct threat coming from the press secretary to me, warning me not to ask a question. And, of course, I went ahead and asked the question anyway, and the president did not respond. But, Wolf, as you know, we don't respond to threats. We're not going to be intimidated, but that did happen prior to my asking that question of the president.
You are such tough guys. You're so admirable, Acosta. You're not going to be intimidated. Not when a girl tells you you're not going to be allowed back into the next pool spray, which sounds vaguely obscene to me anyway. What the hell is a pool spray? I mean, I know what it is. I'm just... But now, remember, there was an Obama event at the White House, and the press was told no questions. Not unless it's a no-question event. And a reporter from what was his name? He's still out there having a mental block. Anyway, either Washington Times or Washington Examiner or somebody, he asked a question. And the press chased this guy practically to the Washington Monument. The press was so obedient. The Obama teams, no questions. And they obediently didn't ask any, except this guy did. And the press went after him like he had committed the greatest offense, looking bad for all of them. Jim Acosta told no questions here, and he asked one because he's not going to be intimidated. We are real men at CNN, as you know, Wolf. We are real men, and we don't respond to threats, and we're not going to be intimidated. You people are intimidated every day. It's obvious the way you can't stop talking about yourselves. Okay, the McNabb story, 3 NFL Network analysts have been suspended over sexual harassment allegations. And Donovan McNabb has been caught up in this somehow. It's Marshall Faulk, Ike Taylor, and I forget the third name. I didn't recognize. Well, Warren Sampson, there's actually 5. But the story focuses on 3 here. But Sapp is included in this, as well as McNabb. And it's a makeup artist. So the NFL, they got, now the sexual harassment story has hit their network. They are headquartered out in Los Angeles. I've got to get a phone call in here before we get out. Let's go to Liz in Champaign, Illinois. Glad you waited. What's happening?
Hello, Rush. I just wanted to voice my opinion on the most recent women that have come up against President Trump. I think it's very obvious that none of those accusations are probably true. And I just get a little tired of these women that come up and accuse somebody of something that can destroy their lives, and they're just lying about it.
You know, it's interesting. I have to tell you, you. I think, Liz, that you probably represent maybe even a majority of thinking on this. There have been social occasions, the last 3 or 4 where I have been and this subject has come up. And at each one, you know, I say what you've heard me say here, that real sexual harassment in the workplace is a horrible and terrible thing, and there's no way it can be defended. And I get people looking at me with some surprise. You really think that? I said, I do. Why? I said, well, I've never been sexually harassed, but I've dealt with people who have all kinds of power over you, who are unstable, threatening, or what have you, and I can only imagine it. My point is the number of people, women, that I've run into who think these other women are making it up simply to get Trump. It's astounding how many women think that, like Liz did here. We've had 2 other callers today. Same thing, which I find it's refreshing and fascinating at the same time to me. National Football League to host a workshop to train college athletes to become social justice activists. And to those of you, we'll have that tomorrow. To those of you on hold today, I really apologize. I'm just having trouble getting to everything in a 3-hour program, but we'll keep trying tomorrow. See you then.